Alright, I just got my LD-002R last week, so I'll run through the basics of this real quick about how to use it, what the basics are. So when you start, there is a newer version available than what is on the thumb drive that it comes with. It's 1.7.0 at the time. Go download that from their website. Both of them are going to have the LD-002R on there, but you know you want to have the newer versions of everything, right? So you fire it up for the first time. You're going to need to go into settings and set up your printer profile. So we can either do that with settings here or settings right here. So it will have a generic printer under the profiles. We're just going to click remove printer, get rid of it, and then we're going to click add a new printer. We're going to come into this list and select the Creality LD-002R. Click OK. So that's going to create your printer in the settings. It's going to give you your resolution for your screen. It's going to give the print size area for the build plate, general settings on resin. It's going to create the exposure times, the layer height, the lift distance, all these things that you don't want to tinker with. It's just set up by manufacturer's recommendations by default, so we leave it. So add your printer, you're ready to go. Next, we're going to add that STL you've downloaded to your print area. In this case, I'm going to do this little Subaru visor mount right here. Click open. It's going to drop it on the area. Now, if it's too big as it sits, you'll see overhangs that will turn red where they're hanging off the build plate. You can just rotate it so that you get a better fit onto the plate. And I'm going to put this right here. And if you need to scale it, there is a scale to fit option that will just make it the right size. So next, we're going to rotate it a little more. It's not great to print a big flat area on the resin printers because it will stick to the FEP film instead of to the build plate, and that's how you get a failed print when it breaks loose. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to rotate it up. They say about 30 degrees-ish or so, but I'm going to do it so that it fits pretty much even with the top of this line and that. Good. Okay, so resin printers do not do infill the way FDM printers and FDM slicers do. So this would be a dead solid piece if we print it as it is, and that's a waste of resin. You don't usually need to do that. So next, what you're going to do is you're going to select your model and you're going to click up here on hollow. Set a wall thickness. I'm going to do 1.2 on this. Try that. Precision, whatever. I don't actually know what that does right now, and we're going to choose enter. And then when we click start, you'll see it run through the model and just dig out all the areas. Okay, so now it's hollow inside, and we need to have a way to let the resin out that's uncured and the alcohol when we wash it. So we're going to dig a hole. In this case, we'll click dig hole right here. It's going to be circle. I'm going to do 3 millimeters. I'm going to click add hole, and you'll see it turns into this little dot that you can move around. So I'm going to try to put a hole right there. So I've now dug a hole out of my model. There's where resin can get out. I don't need this little fiddly bit right here, so I'm just going to click it and delete it. So now our model is hollowed and has a drainage port. You can add multiples. I'm not going to. This is going to be a finished part. I don't really want to do that with it and put holes all over it. But anytime something's hollow, you need to give it drainage. So next step, we got it on our build plate. We got it sized. We got it rotated. We need to build supports. So come up here to the support menu, and you can add them manually, and some people do add them manually, but I'm not going to do that. So anything that's red means it is not touching the build plate, and it's going to need some type of support. Here are the settings that have worked for me. So your Z lift height, I usually do between 3 and 4. I had it at 4.5 because I printed something that was small and fiddly, and it was causing the end to basically warp as it printed. So top, leave the contact shape as none, makes it break off easier. Middle is a cylinder, and then the bottom I do as a skate. And then I'm just going to click plus platform, and it builds us our nice little build platform to put it on. You've got nice positive fixture points on the build plate. It's going to break loose easily off of your finished piece, and we're done. All right. So now we're ready to slice. Click on the slice button. You only have one printer selected, so you don't have to worry about this little up arrow in the profiles. It's going to show you what your slicing is like, what volume of liquid is required, what the price is going to be, and then what your time is. Now you can bring this up in the bottom over here and change these settings based on a resin, but whatever the default is for your printer, which is probably going to be a 9-second exposure with a 50-second bottom exposure, that's probably right. You just leave that. And if you want to step through the build and look at it, you can. All right. Now we're pretty much done. You got to click save. You give it a name. And then click save. It'll say writing file. Wait. And then once the file is done, it'll pop up and say show in folder. We want to open the folder. We want to take this CTB file that we just created, copy it to our thumb drive, go put the thumb drive in your printer, fire it up, hit print, and you're good to go. Now, there are other things you'll want to do about leveling the bed. There are instructions with the machine about that, but basically it's go to a home position, loosen 4 screws. I'm sorry, wrong order. Loosen 4 screws on the build plate, go to home position, hold it in place, tighten those 4 screws up, and it's leveled. And that's the basics of it. So you're not really creating STL files. Those are the models that you're going to download from somewhere else if you're not a designer and doing it yourself. It's just you're going to bring them into this Chitubox. You're going to put them on your build plate. You're going to slice them, and then they're ready to print. So hope you learned.